with Slingin Dirt Media. I'm here in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. I got Shane Mchenry going to tell us about his ideas, plans, what he's got coming on with Lawrenceburg Speedway this year. Shane, man, did I understand you used to do some racing as well?
Yeah, I've been at Lawrenceburg for a long time. You know, when I was a kid, my grandparents used to take me down there, so kind of fell in love with sprint car racing. You know, as a young kid, always looked forward to going there. And then my uncle J.D. Largent drove over there for a long time, so a lot of people.
There's that name again,
yeah,
J.D.
so
Largent.
A lot of people know J.D.
Yeah. I may have raced against J.D. a little bit back in the day.
Some people loved him, some people hated him.
Yeah,
but
maybe I might have been on both sides of that.
But no, so I spent a lot of time with him at tracks. And then, early 2000s, I started driving for Junior Clark. Had my own car, but ran out of the Hardentown stable, or the Hardentown Mafia, as Junior liked to call it, jokingly. But kind of got my start there thanks to Junior, and raced for 4 or 5 years, and then kids came along, kind of
funny how that happens.
Spent money on other places, didn't have that race car money anymore, and then Danny Eichler and JD put together a modified for me, and I drove it 3 or 4 times on the new track, and had kind of a small 350, so you probably know how the rest of that story goes. And
I'm familiar with that.
So if you can't, kind of one of those guys, if you don't have the stuff to run up front, it's not a lot of fun.
The new track versus the old track, man, that's a debate that comes up a lot, and it's a day and night difference.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, everybody loved the old quarter mile.
Yeah,
you know, and that's kind of where that term got coined, the legendary Lawrenceburg Speedway.
The legendary,
love that. And but yeah, I mean, I think we all that went to the old quarter mile had a lot of fond memories, and the racing was a lot better just because it's smaller and boring and you know, closer. And
I've been labeled a late model guy. I grew up more around late models, but I mean, as a kid, went to Lawrenceburg some as well. But man, I can remember back in the day, it seemed like the place had a lot of late model shows, or ran late models more than regular. You know, seemed like
some years I know they did. I remember being there with JD when I was younger, and he raced the late model there for a little while. And but yeah, I mean, probably most my fond memories are the wing sprints when they ran down there with the Kensers and Leon Thixton and those guys, and Greg Staub. So it's but yeah, I mean, I think we got to find a balance moving forward of, you know, moving it around a little bit, keeping people interested, and you know, it's always been known as a sprint car track. But there's a lot of other good racing out there too that we got to find.
There's a lot of good racing, a lot of classes. I've had conversations with, you know, man, I've grown up and been around racing a long time, and I still tell people when it comes up, one of the best races I ever seen in my life was a stock car race at Eldora. It was one of the prelude races when they had the first started having the NASCAR drivers come in and driving the late models. And in between, I guess it was like their intermission or whatever, you could tell it was a late model or a NASCAR crowd. They didn't have a clue really what was going on. They were just there to see their NASCAR drivers. So in between, they ran their Eldora late models, or their Eldora modifieds, or the Eldora stock cars. Well, me and a buddy Josh was there, and we're watching, and I'm paying attention to this race, and nobody's got a clue what's going on. It's one of the best races I've ever seen in my life. Ernie Woodward and Jeff Babcock traded the lead 4 times every single lap for the entire feature. I'm like, this is an amazing race. And people had no clue what was going on. So it's not always your headliners that put on a good show.
Right.
I mean, whether it's modified stock cars or whatever. I just like dirt racing. I like good racing.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, that's some of my best memories of the old Lawrenceburg. You know, three wide, battling for a lead. And even if the leader checked out, then they would catch up to lap traffic, and then it kind of tightened everything up. So seldom did you have somebody just check out and, you know, run the field, and so the racing was a lot better. And we've got to figure out what we can do with the bigger track and how we can make it racier.
So you've been, how long have you been out of a car?
So I've probably not raced in probably 10 years. No, you know, 8 to 10 years.
8 to 10 years. Okay. So you did some racing, took some time off, just go watch. Now all of a sudden, here we go. Now you're gonna promote a track.
It's been a learning curve, but I mean, I'm used to being busy. Being in law enforcement most of my career, and even before I got elected sheriff, I was a detective. So you know, I was kind of always on call, and when anything bad happened, you were the guy. So, And then, my kids were younger. I coached a lot of sports, just one of those guys,
Yeah.
played travel
So
sports.
you're just always up for the challenge, whatever.
Always up for the challenge, always busy. And it's like, I say it jokingly, but it's really not a joke anymore.
Sure.
Now my kids have got a little older, and the sports are not, and one's in college,
Yeah.
one's graduated and works on his own, and I still have one in high school, but he's not playing any sports anymore. And
Okay.
some nights I go home and I sit down on the couch and I'm like, what do I do now?
Now what?
Now what? So I'm just one of those people, I have to stay busy, and,
Right.
and I just knew this was going to be a challenge, and I had a feeling based on the business model and the talk that not a lot of people would be interested. And, there's always talk, oh, this guy's going to, that guy. But, when you start talking about the money you got to spend to invest in the track and you don't own it, it's tough. And, I thought it through, talked out with my wife and family, and made sure I had some supporters with me. And,
right.
I just had a bad feeling if we didn't pony up that place was going to send empty, and that was the worst thing that could ever happen.
Yeah, we with several people we talked about, and it seemed like a long time we went by, and was really anybody talking about taking it over or what was going on with it. And it's like, man, I know a lot of people, and it's like, man, nobody's really said anything. It's like, wow, is this place really gonna sit idle if nobody takes it over? The facility that Lawrenceburg has is by far immaculate. I mean, when it comes to dirt racing, and you go to a lot of racetracks, it has a phenomenal facility. It's a shame to see something like that sit. I drove by Kentucky Speedway about a month or so ago, and it was just, like, I don't know, it's kind of chilling. It's like, you have a facility like this that's just sitting here empty, and I just couldn't see Lawrenceburg doing that,
In the city, they recognize that. They've talked to people
Yeah.
in the industry, and they've basically been told that, if it sits there, it's tough to get it back open, and
Sure.
the longer it sits there, sometimes it'll never be open.
Right, right.
That's brought a lot of people over time to Lawrenceburg, and I think you've probably been one of those people. You can go somewhere.
Yeah.
I've been on vacation places, and people go, "Where are you from?" And
Yeah.
I say, "Well, I live in Aurora, but
Yeah.
Lawrenceburg's." Lawrenceburg Speedway.
Lawrenceburg Speedway, yeah.
People across the nation know that place and have
They
heard
do.
of it, and maybe have been there and watching so much good racing over the years. And
Yeah.
that's the exciting part about being able to continue that tradition.
Yeah, I was in Fargo, North Dakota, and this is I swear to God, true story. Fargo, North Dakota, and I'd never been there, never been to that track, and me and my buddy were on the way to the track, stopped at Applebee's, had lunch, and there was a couple that came in, a guy and a girl, a couple. I didn't talk to them. I wanted to, but we just didn't. The guy had a Florence Speedway T-shirt on, and his wife or girlfriend, whatever, she had a Lawrenceburg Speedway T-shirt. I'm like, we're in Fargo, North Dakota, and these people got, hey, that's a good thing. Obviously, those people were probably from this area, but that's pretty cool. You get that far away from home and see people wearing the stuff, whether they're traveling there or whatever, that was pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah, and that's what's made it nice. This current administration at Lawrenceburg City Council and the mayor have recognized that, and they know what kind of facility and the potential that they have over there. And we've had a ton of. The city at this point could not have been better at being supportive and understanding. And
that's awesome.
They want to be a great partner, and they want to see that place flourish.
Yeah, I would have to think. I don't know the details of the lease or anything. I would have to think that, man, the city's they've got to make money off that as well too. It's a tourist attraction.
Yeah, and obviously there's got to be some. I've got to have some skin in the game.
Sure.
And that's what the city wants, and I understand that. But ultimately, I think what the city really gains is when you have a big race and you bring people to your community and you have multi-day shows and people are camping over there and they're staying in the hotels.
Yeah,
and
there's
visiting the
hotels, there's
and,
restaurants.
The economic boost that you get off that for the downtown businesses and things like that. I think the city understands that's they may make $60,000 off the lease every year. But really what they're getting out of it is people come in their community that then get exposed to the community and they might come back.
Right.
For
it looks good for them as well. It's especially when the city owns something like that. It's on their fairgrounds. It reflects on them as well too.
No, I agree. And like I said, they've been great. We've had some great conversations. Good. Obviously, we're up against time and bad weather. This is the worst time of year to be doing some stuff with the track.
Yeah, kind of.
The city, when they named me the promoter, is committed to putting money and reinvesting in the track and resurfacing, and we're looking at some ways of, we've kicked around the idea, is it possible to put the old quarter mile back? Maybe, but I mean, you just got to look at long term what's best for what's over there, and I appreciate that the city wants to reinvest money over there, but it's got to be smart.
Sure.
They have budgets they have to meet too, and that doesn't mean we're going to cut corners on things, but it's just what can we do to make that place have a better surface, be racier, and keep it maintained and
get the most for their buck.
Yeah, and get some of these other shows back and expand our horizons over there. And historically they've not had multi-day races, and every promoter is free to choose what they want to do, and that's something that I've talked to the city about it. I think we need to, and I know it's a risk. I mean, I think that's sometimes what keeps people from doing it. And I respect that.
Yeah.
But I think with having a facility like that, that's something we really need to look at.
Sure.
And it just so happens today, USAC, released their schedule, and at the end of the year, we've agreed, and we're going to have for the Fall Nationals there'll be a 2-day show next year.
Nice.
In October at Lawrenceburg.
So USAC will be back at Lawrenceburg next year.
Yeah.
2024.
So
awesome.
They'll be back, and we're going to have they've been wanting a 2-day show, and we figured it out. So
hey, this is a win-win. I mean, you get the 2-day show, city gets a 2-day show, USAC gets a 2-day show.
No, I'm really looking forward to it, and that's part of this thing that I've loved, and I think and appreciate this is everybody throws the term around family. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, if you're used to being around the racetrack and you get to know the other racers and their family, and if you have a problem on your car, even though he's your biggest competitor, that's the first guy or his crew guy over there trying to help you to make sure you're ready to go race him.
Yeah.
And that's just the kind of people that really make you want to invest in these kind of things, and the friendships and lifelong friendships you've built from meeting those people at the racetrack, and so that's going to be a real cool thing for me.
You have your blood family, and then you have your racing family, and sometimes those mix, but they're both considered a family. I think a lot of times it's hard for people, maybe that are not in the sport, to really understand or grasp that concept as, hey, this is we're competitors, but we're family. Even we may not be blood related, but we're family.
Yeah. I mean, our community over here is pretty tight knit, even though we have 50,000 in this county that do a lot. But I think the racing family is just like that. Anytime something, unfortunately, we see tragedy in racing, or whether it's been on the track or families, and everybody comes together and helps one another out. And, that's the cool thing about this racing experience.
Yep. I've been around the sport my entire life, so it's I don't hesitate to say that I have racing family. When you've grown up with people and stuff all your life, and it's family, like you said, very tight knit, and you're there for each other, good times and bad, and moving forward.
So and one thing that's been nice too is anytime you take on an endeavor like this, you get a lot of people reach out and say, "Hey, buddy, you ever need anything?" But I know the quality of some of the people and the long-standing relationship we have when they tell me that, they mean that.
Yeah.
And that has been kind of overwhelming for me. I'm just kind of one of those people that I don't really like depending on others or asking for help. But knowing that you have that support system, and I know if something happens, if one of my guys gets sick that I really need to count on, I can call this guy and he will drop what he'll do and be at the track. And, and that's what it's going to take for us to be successful.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not expecting miracles in the first year. I'm going to have a learning curve.
Yeah.
Having to buy all this new equipment. If we get a new track surface, it's going to take a minute to figure that out. How we're going to set it up for this. And everybody's like, well, being a promoter is tough. Well, like I said, I've been in law enforcement my whole career. This is my 5th year serving as the sheriff over here in my 2nd term. So I'm used to taking those blows, and you got to stay even keeled and not get too excited about things. It's never going to be perfect. You could have the best night of racing ever over there. Somebody's going to be upset because the track was slick and it should have been tacky and here. And I understand that. And, you just got to roll with the punches. And, they'll if they're really fans, they'll be back. And, hopefully next time you provide a better experience for them.
I think when I got into the working side out of the seat and out of racing, started getting into the working side of it, and then getting into different areas of management at the racetrack. And I told one of the guys I worked with one time, I said, look, man, he was having problems trying to figure this out. I said, man, what do I do? And I said, well, you could take that trying to make everybody happy mentality, you could take and throw that out the window, because no matter what you do, you're going to make some people happy and you're going to make some people mad. You know, and next week it might be the complete opposite. You know, so you got to do what's best for the business. I'm not saying you out to screw everybody, but you know, you can't just constantly put yourself in a losing end. You know.
And I think one thing you have to be careful not to do is overreact to criticism too.
Sure.
I mean, they're paying to get in your racetrack. If they
Yeah.
want to complain about whatever, let them do it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, a lot of people just want to blow off steam.
Yeah.
And if you listen to them for 5 minutes and have an honest conversation and say, hey, look, I'm sorry you feel that way. I literally spent 30 hours working on this racetrack trying to give you the best service.
Yeah.
I apologize. You know, we're here, and they just want to blow off steam. They'll be back next week.
They'll be back next
week. But I mean,
week.
you just gotta, like I said, you gotta stay even keeled, and you can't get into that back and forth stuff
Sure.
with them. And you let them voice their opinion and listen to them, and you know. And
so what? Give me some expectations. What are you looking for? Starting off, I mean, I know you're working on your schedule a lot. How close is that to be done? Are you 50%, 85%?
Probably 75%.
Okay.
Probably run 18 to 20 races. Looking to probably best case scenario, at least 3 late model shows to add. Got some sprint shows. We're going to mix it around a little bit. We'll have some wing sprints. We'll have the traditional non-wing that runs over there. Like we already talked about, we got USAC coming back.
Right.
Elephant Room, we lost the World of Outlaws show, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people are disappointed, but
Right.
we're working to fill that and see what else we can get there.
Sure.
Probably looking at running similar class. We'll probably run a lot of modifieds over there, pure stocks and Hornets. I know people have been beating me up wanting rules.
Want
And
rules, man.
I know they're already working on the cars, and I respect that. And I just want to make sure to get the the right thing that's still fair. And you know, those are our classes that you want to keep affordable. But sometimes I think we get too caught up in, well, you can't use this aftermarket part. Well, you can't find those parts anymore. So, and sometimes it's cheaper to buy an aftermarket part.
Yeah.
If it's just, for me, if it's safe or if it's a safety issue,
Sure.
we got to kind of do a better job of letting go of some of that stuff.
Right.
Although I understand traditionally why we did that, or
Yeah.
your body's got to be a stock panel. Well, where are you going to go to get those cars anymore for like the pure stock guys? It's just hard. So if we can use sheet metal and make them stock appearing, like those are just some things that I'm going to try to do a good job. And I've had a lot of great conversations with other promoters already, and that's been the support from other promoters has been, I think we talked earlier, and I told you traditionally you hear people complain, I wish these promoters would work together, and I couldn't ask for a better relationship so far from the people I've talked to. They've been helpful. Hey, this is when we're going to run this. So if you're going to run this show, let us know, and we won't run these types of cars.
Right.
And it's been great. So from that perspective, and that's been helpful with the schedule. But I mean, when you won, people just think, well, you just go and get whatever class you want. I want to run them this night. Well, if Josh is running a big late model show at Florence, and I try to run a late model show at Lawrenceburg, everybody knows it's going to flop.
That's probably not going to work.
There's only enough cars, there's only enough people, and neither one of us are going to do very well. And so just trying to find that balance of what's running in the area and what particular night is kind of what's made it difficult. And,
Right.
when you're a new guy, a lot of series have wanted to get in Lawrenceburg for a while, and it's just not happened for one reason or another. And so now they're all kind of hitting me at one side.
Yeah.
You just, like you said, you don't necessarily want to worry about making people happy, but you also want to open the door for new opportunities.
So I would have to think now you've got a whole bunch of window of opportunities here.
I agree. And those are the things like I said, I'm trying to open up the schedule a little bit to maybe give opportunities to people that haven't ran there.
Right.
See
what's going to work for you.
Right. I mean, I know we have a local kid who's been at Lawrenceburg. I remember when he was a kid, he was down there flagging at the thing.
Yeah.
And now he drives a Legend car, and he's been wanting to run at Lawrenceburg forever, and they just hadn't had him. And so we're for sure going to run a Legend show next year. So I'm excited for him to get to
Jumping Joe's going to be happy on that.
See, it's great. I mean, and you know what? That kid's put a ton into racing, in my opinion, and has worked his tail off. And, to be able to give him an opportunity to race in front of the hometown fans I can't wait for that night.
Yeah. And I can't imagine the celebration if Joe does win that night. He's going to be doing backflips.
Yeah. No, Joe's an excitable guy anyway. So you're right. And
I've had the opportunity to work with Joe. We've done an episode with Joe. He's a good friend, good dude.
I agree 100%. Yeah. I would love nothing more to see him win that race.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
Right. So Legends, that's awesome. We're going to see Legends. Is that going to be the first time Legends have ever ran at Lawrenceburg, or do you know?
I think I'm not sure. I think they've maybe made a couple appearances several years ago
Okay.
on the big track, but
Okay.
I'm not totally
Yeah.
sure on.
I mean, I'm not at Lawrenceburg every week. I can't remember it. I'm not saying they haven't. I don't even know if they've turned practice laps. Maybe. I know when I was there, Joe was like, "Man, hey, maybe Dave can get the Legends." I was like, "Man, I'll say something to him. I don't know if he's got any openings in his schedule or not, but hey. So I know there's people that have been looking for that.
No, and I get it from once you get locked in on the schedule and kind of year to year, it would be a heck of a lot easier just to say, nah, we got our schedule, and instead of trying to do all this maneuvering and fitting in. So I totally understand why they would have been comfortable with the schedule they had. And like I said,
and again, when you get in a rhythm, what works for you, you want to kind of keep it simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally understand that, because I mean, it would probably save me a lot of time from what I've spent so far in the evenings making phone calls, returning emails, Facebook messages. Social media will really keep you busy, and then you get bombarded with the messages, which I appreciate from people with suggestions, and and sometimes those will work, and sometimes people have some really good ideas of stuff that you don't really think about, and so I try to take time to return every one of those messages. And one, I want the fans to know that I do care, and I want to build. I'm an approachable guy, and I want to build that relationship with them, because obviously if they feel like I'm that way and good at customer service, and they're going to appreciate that.
They're going to be there.
They're going to come to our racetrack and be fans and enjoy the experience.
Right on. How much of equipment was you able to get? I know Dave had a couple of sales, auctions, and things like that. How much of that stuff was you able to keep or maintain or get?
So we got 2 of the water trucks, and we got the floater truck, which was huge.
Okay.
I have a couple good friends who have helped me tremendously with buying a little bit of the equipment to help me out. Able to buy 2 of the sheep's foots, got the scales, bought one of the, bought a Lely.
Okay.
So we got that, and then trying to think after that, a bunch of small things. We didn't get the tractor, but so still working on deals on a tractor and a road grader.
Sure.
Which will be very important. Feel comfortable about that. I'm not.
Yeah.
We got a couple things worked out right now. Concession wise, I'm gonna have to go out and get some stuff. I mean, they had a lot of stuff, and it went for, there was a huge crowd, and a lot of that stuff went for probably more than I felt comfortable paying, considering the use of it.
I heard some of the stuff, which, I mean, great for Dave. I heard some of that stuff was going top dollar.
It was, and and that's good for them.
Yeah,
I mean, that's part of being a promoter. They put
that's why you have the
their hard
auctions.
work into it, and they bought that stuff with their money, so they have every right to. I know a lot of people are upset about, oh, the place is going to fold because the promoter sold all their equipment. Well, that's how it's their equipment. Like, they're not just going to give it to me out of the kindness of their heart. So it's.
So how about the school buses and the minivans? Are those going to be back, or
it's funny you say that, because if you're a racer, you kind of chuckle when you talk about school bus. You think that's so silly, but like everywhere I've been meeting sponsors, I'll say, "Do you guys come to the racetrack?" And they'll go, "Man, we're busy with work. We don't get use, but we do have that one the night they have the school bus race. My kids love that." I'm like, "Of course they do." So yeah, we're working on a plan to do some things a little different with that, but hopefully we can, because the school buses did sell, and so we're hoping to maybe work out some different things.
That's the thing. As a business, you look at it. It's not about the racer at that point, but man, Lawrenceburg, that's their probably their biggest night of the year. And
it's insane to think. The world's best race car drivers down there. I mean, down to NASCAR drivers.
Yeah.
And the best crowd of the night is school
buses and minivans.
Minivans. I mean, it's just monster trucks, and it's just It's as a racer, it's tough to wrap.
So does that mean we need to start running school buses every week?
Don't give them any ideas.
Right.
But no, the cool thing is, though, it gets a lot of kids over there and exposes them to that kind of thing, and I think you maybe get some fans. And I think that you take that opportunity to, hopefully not a lot of people are running, and we can have some cars from every class just to turn some laps, just to expose people to that and maybe want to come back and take a look at that.
I know the Crown Vic class is a class that's just like out of the last 2 years seems like, I mean, it's probably been around longer than that, but it just seems like in the last 2 years, I mean, it's like booming. It's like, I mean, Crown Vics are still a little bit everywhere. You can get them fairly cheap, I guess. But it's like these guys are happy to run. I mean, I think there was a race a year or so ago, paid $300 to win, and these guys drove from the other side of Indiana, and they're like, heck yeah, we'll be here every week for this. Like, this is big money. It's like, it's $300, and they were like happy as could be over it, you know?
Yeah, and I've had a lot of people reach out about, hey, you gonna run? So I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate, just kind of finding, you know, if you're gonna run 4 classes, if you can add another class, how many cars they're gonna have.
Right.
You just got to be, you know, worried about the show, and you know, you don't want it to drag on and get too late. And
it's got to run efficiently.
Right. So we got to figure out because, you know, just because whatever their car count was last year, I'm taking a hard look at the purse of some of the lower classes and the modifieds, and looking at not just making it a huge let's go 500 to win and then drop it down, but more you know, everybody's struggling with the economy right now. So if I can put a few bucks on the back end for the guy who maybe runs 16th and leaves there with more than he came with, rather than, you know, just paying him the $25 instead of you know, boosting instead of 300 win, making it 500, maybe spreading that out throughout the purse to give everybody else a little piece.
Putting that big number on top only helps one person. When you spread it out, it helps everybody. Therefore, you're going to get more people to come.
Right, and we're taking a look at those kind of things and see what we can do, because, you know, those are the kind of things. I had a guy reach out to me today, and he says, man, me and my family love coming down there, but with the way things are, he goes, and the admission prices, and by the time our kids get some from the concession stand, it's very tough for us, and we'd love to come every week, but we can't. So if there's any way you can look at those kind of things. But obviously, you know, you have to make it work, but you got to be cognizant of the area you live in. And, you know, there are a lot of people that's a huge weekend for them to, if you got 3 or 4 kids, and, you know, you're spending $40 at the concession stand, and then it's costing you as a family, you know, you got over $100 in a night.
Sure.
And, you know, just not everybody can afford that.
Every single week.
Right. So
you know, you're going to have your diehards and your people that are there weekly, but, you know, your people that are bringing the family and spending that $150 to $200 every single week. That's a big expense.
Right. So I think you got to get creative of how you do it. I know Josh did a really nice job of that last year of having some fan appreciation stuff, and, you know, dollar hot dog, dollar beer
days,
night.
man.
You know, people appreciate that, and they come out for that, and, you know, it's just we're in a tough market right now, and you got to get really, really creative of how you can do something.
That was a conversation I had today. We were talking about how racing in general is kind of in a scary spot right now. You know, the racers aren't getting, you know, on one side of it, they're saying, well, we're not making that much more. We're not getting paid much more than we was 10 years ago, but the prices of everything has gone up. It's like, well, you know, I get that. But on the other side of that, you know, look at the racetrack side of that. You know, if their numbers are dwindling, you got less and less people. They can't justify, say, well, I can pay you more and more money when they got less and less coming in. You know, it's like, I don't know how you control the price on parts. I mean, obviously there is no changing that. The cars are just going to get more and more expensive, and we just got to find a way to deal with it.
And that's been
unfortunately
that's been my message to the city is, you know, I want to do the best I can, but people have to realize the economy's terrible. Everything costs more.
Everything.
There's less fans, less race cars, and so trying to make that work in that market, and then, you know, let's just talk about the elephant in the room, the streaming that's going on. You know, it's making it tougher and tougher on promoters. I mean, I've heard my peers talk about, you know, how many people they think they're losing for a USAC show, and people are staying home and watching on Flow, and that's great that Flow's marketed that way. But, you know, that makes it tough for the little guy, me, to do some things when, you know, you lose those people and you're probably not making it back in the revenue that they're making to pay you back.
Sure. Yeah, it's man. It's good and bad. It's good that people across the country can sit back and get to watch the races, but at the end of the day, is the streaming companies paying the tracks enough so that the tracks are, hey, now I'm not getting these people. The streaming companies are, but the racetrack isn't seeing these people. So, I mean, there's got to be, I'm not saying there is or isn't, but we just got to make sure that that's something we keep an eye on. I feel like as a fan, yes, I'm probably not going to make it to the other side of Texas to watch a race this weekend, but I might be interested in watching it. The Dome, same thing, coming up soon, Dirt in December. I'm probably not going to go this year, but am I going to sit home and pay to watch that? I would love to. That's happening a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's, you know, the streamer, they're not flowing those guys. They're not dumb to that. They realize if they don't have race cars or race shows to film, then, you know, they're gonna be losing big money. And I mean, everybody's got to just we got to get to the table and to see what's fair for everybody.
Sure.
I mean, good for them. The money they invest, and they're bringing so much attention and new fans by exposing that when you used to not be able to see it. But then the downside is, and then not many people going to the track. But I'm one of those people that, like you were talking about the Dome. Maybe I can't go to the Dome, but if I could sit at my house in Aurora and watch the sprint show at Lawrenceburg, I'm probably not going to do it. My butt's going to be in the seats because I'm just one of those people that I got to be there to see it, smell it, feel it, get hit in the face. If you don't, not getting smacked in the face with a mud clot or
still like
eating a dirt burger or in your beer, is it really a true experience?
No. There's nothing better than being there. I mean, it's okay to watch something if you know you're not going to go. But, like, hey, from here to Eldora, I'd much rather go and be there. Watching at home is just no comparison to how good it is actually being there.
Right, yeah. And, like we talked about, you get to see your racing family and spend time with those folks there and stuff. But one thing we did kind of talk about there was the concessions. I'm probably going to back off. The Russos did an outstanding job of, they did their own pizzas there.
Yeah.
They had a ton of options, and that's something I'm probably going to slow down a little bit.
Scale back a little bit.
Yeah, stick back to, just because I would rather invest more money into, especially starting up. And, obviously they accrued that stuff over a period of 17 years of being down there. I'm not going to come in there the first year and,
I bet you if you go back, I bet you they didn't have all that stuff their first year out either.
Right, so but I mean, most people, they want a hamburger, a hot dog, a pretzel with cheese, or nachos, or, maybe some other specialty thing. But ultimately, I think chicken tenders, French fries, but
popcorn.
If they don't have that stuff, kids want food, so they're gonna eat what you have, and
who was it? Larry Shaw, when he opened Batesville Motor Speedway, and he was talking to another promoter, and he was working on his concession and the menu items, and the guy said, popcorn, gotta have popcorn. He said, put a little extra salt in it. He said, the saltier the popcorn is, the more beverage they're going to buy to wash down the popcorn. So you gotta have popcorn.
Absolutely. No, there are some truth in that kind of thing.
Yeah. There's sales tactics and all of it.
So. But no, we're kind of a couple other things to hit as I'm working on building my team right now, and pretty sure it's
staffing was the next question coming up.
Yeah, so I'm
how's that looking?
Pretty pleased with where I am. Obviously, Bobby Gump and his safety team, they're coming back, and what a blessing those guys are. I think. I mean, I've not been as many places maybe you have, but I feel like what I have seen on TV and other places, that we got the best in the business. They have great equipment. I mean,
Bobby's on it.
They're on it, and I think that gives people a lot of peace of mind knowing that they have that. Even though we have a big track, with that big wall, but when you got Bobby and his team that they're there, as soon as anything happens, and so great conversations with them. Some people I've talked to and some I haven't. It's just finding that. The people in it. One thing people got to realize is a lot of it's loyalty, and you got to have people by your side that this isn't just me.
Right.
This is my family running things, and so my mom works for me now, and she's going to run the concession part of things, and she actually runs the kitchen for me.
Okay.
So my wife will be doing the ticketing and those kind of things. My daughter's a freshman at Ball State. She's going to learn both sides of that business there. Okay. I have a 16-year-old son, a 16-year-old stepson who are going to be hell on wheels on the mowers.
Family business.
Doing trash on Saturday night. Yeah. My 20-year-old son, he actually drives a pure stock. He's just started racing last year. So the nights, when he's racing, he's going to be racing. But the nights he's not racing, he'll be helping the big shows, and he'll be helping during the week with running the water truck. And you'll see me on the tractor. You'll see me in the concession stand. I'm just one of those hands-on people.
Wherever you got to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily asking somebody to do that I wouldn't do, but it's, if we're short and we're busy, and I know we got a big show in the house, a USAC show, and we're taking a break, and my concession people are getting slammed and they need a hand, I'm not afraid to get in there and sling some hot dogs or whatever it takes
I have flipped burgers. I have filled fountain drinks. I think the only job that I have not done at a racetrack is I've never third flags. Yeah. Never waved them. I think that's the only job I've never done.
I can honestly say, other than being a little twerp in the grandstands, remember when you used to have those plastic helmets with the face shields that came down and a checkered flag? I probably smacked somebody in the head a few times when I was a kid. But I've never done that either. But I've been friends with. I went to school with Dave Wilson and Tom Wilson. So I've been good friends with those guys for a long time, and
Tom's a great guy. And every time if I see Tom at the racetrack, I make sure I got to go over and say hi and shake his hand. We always have at least a 5-minute conversation if we see each other.
Yeah, Tom's just one of those guys. You see him, he's always got a smile on his face, and he's always great to see. And so I've been talking to him, and you never know, you might see Tom in the fold somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Tim Montgomery's going to come back in flag stand.
Yep.
Just kind of working out on I think a most important thing is, not most important, but a really important thing that people don't think about is your tech stuff, because obviously you've got to be fair across the board, and you got to support your people, and sometimes people aren't happy about the decisions, but it's got to be fair and treat everybody. I know a lot of guys you talk to are like, well, so and so goes through the tech and they don't even look at his card, and I come through there and they're looking at this, and so and I think one thing that's really important for me is how my people treat the other people. And sometimes racers come through there and they can be hot depending on what happened to them in the track, and you got to be willing to let that roll off the bat, and not you need to de-escalate versus yell. And I think that gets people in trouble sometimes. I've seen that as two hotheads never ends well, and so I'm going to be a stickler about, and I'm not saying that sometimes things just don't happen, you can't control, but I'm going to be a stickler about those kind of things of, we treat everybody fair, we treat everybody with respect.
Yeah.
And, we'll figure it out later, and once things calm down.
The thing that just makes me smile and kind of chuckle a little bit the whole time you're saying that is, I remember, this was a few years ago, right after, maybe about 8 years ago, I worked for Jesse Lay, Joe Lay and Sons Plumbing, and I was doing the tech at Florence Speedway. The first year I'm doing this, first year I started working for Jesse, I was late one day, had an incident, whatever. Didn't get to see the cars before they rolled out for the heat race. I had 3 people, while they're on the racetrack, I had 3 people come up to me and say, so-and-so's got an illegal left front tire on. So-and-so's got an illegal left front tire on. I'm like, oh, great, this is going to go great. So like my first or second month of working for Jesse Lay, then he finished in top 3, so obviously I had to go look at my top 3 tires. The guy had an illegal left front tire on. He didn't know he had it on, or it was a tire that was legal at one time, then they faded them out and no longer. So therefore now I am in a position, I had to DQ my boss. Is what it is. I might have got a little respect out of it, but it's like, hey, it is what it is. I've said, hey, I'd DQ my mom if she did something wrong. Right. I don't care.
And we laugh about it, but I mean, if
we laugh
if
about
you don't do that,
yes,
you lose credibility with the other racers.
Absolutely.
And, my son's going to run pure stocks at Lawrenceburg, and we talked about that, and I said, just heads up, son.
Yeah.
You're probably going to end up on the short end of the stick because if it's a 50-50 situation, you're losing.
You're probably losing.
And that's, it's got to be fair like that.
Yep.
And, I'm not.
Everybody knows me and Josh King grew up really good friends all of our lives, and I raced there quite a few times, and I guarantee you I was never on that winning end of a 50-50 call.
Right.
And I get it. Yeah. You cannot show any type of favoritism.
So, and you brought up Josh, and Josh has been a great so far to deal with, and we've only met in person, I think maybe once, but I mean we've texted a lot.
Yeah,
and he's offered some really good advice, and I appreciate that. We've talked a lot, making sure we're not competing against each other for shows, but like that's what's made this nice and fun to do so far is being able to bounce stuff off Josh, who's done it for so long, and, understands.
Very business savvy. You guys, he knows what he's doing.
Right.
Made things work. I know people had said a year or two ago when they kind of started fading out the late models, and people are like, oh, that place will never survive, and it's like, man, I'm not going to say they flourished, but, man, they had some really good nights, really good weekends. Man, you can't tell if they had late models or didn't have late models, and nights that were very successful nights, and there was not a late model anywhere.
Yeah, I know he raised some eyebrows getting that high limit race, and I
heard that too.
I was stoked for him. I mean, I think that's awesome. Good for him. I want to see those guys succeed because if he's doing well, I'm going to do well. And,
sure.
That was awesome. But I think Florence got a high limit race. Or did you see that? I mean,
What's going on here?
I did see that. So, that's great for them.
Yeah, I don't think he was. I don't think that was his first choice on the date, but they'll make it work.
That's what I told him. I said, man, you're gonna kill it over there. that's a great show, and he knows how to promote big races, so
Right.
I'm sure they'll get the best out of whatever they can.
Yeah. Now, if I understand, or if I heard that right, as long as the weather's good, maybe that won't delay NASCAR qualifying in Kansas. Maybe a certain young money might make it to Florence Speedway, bring in some crowd, maybe.
Man,
we'll see.
What a generational talent he is.
Man, I've never seen anybody with that kind of talent.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
seen a lot of
racers.
Off anything. I mean, I was a diehard Earnhardt and Stewart fan, and those guys both great, phenomenal drivers. But man, that kid just wins in everything he drives.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, who wouldn't be excited to get to go to the local dirt track and check him out?
Yeah, for sure. So, how excited are you?
I'm very excited.
How scared are you?
I'm not really scared because I just don't I'm not going to lie. First couple weeks, I won't say I had a lot of sleepless nights, but I had a lot of those where my mind's just always going. Yeah. So if I don't sleep real well anyway. So if I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going, man, what am I doing in consent? What am I doing in this? When my mind's just going. So what's driving me crazy more than anything now is the Rudersales have control of the track till the first of the year.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't even really do anything if I went there, but I'm on this purpose. I've got to be there. I've got to look at it. I got to visualize. Where am I going to put this? How am I going to do this? And just trying to get the schedule done when I can really when March rolls around and I can really dig in and get more. I'll feel better because I just kind of feel I'm not really overwhelmed. It's just thinking about all the things that I want to do, and
it's that dead time.
I got to start.
It's not really dead time, but
if I'm not checking off to-do list and physically doing something, thinking all about that everything I got to do.
You're still adding to the list. You're not even checking off yet. You're still adding to the list.
Yeah, I have a running list every day. I talk to somebody. I'm like, I got to call this person. And getting a little bit late start here, that's the problem with the track work we're going to do is, the city's been great. We've met twice this week to go over stuff. They got, but we're a little bit weather dependent.
Yeah.
We better hope that we have a drier and warmer January and February, March. If we get, a little bit better weather than normal, just 6 weeks, 2 months out of that, we'll be in really, really good shape.
Good.
We're ahead of the game on some things and a little behind on others. But
do you have a date that you're looking at to try to have your schedule done by?
Well, I was kind of in a big hurry to get it done, and then I kind of talked to guys like Josh, and Josh says, man, I kind of let other people I try to get some dates in, and then I let other people sort theirs out, and then I take a look and I think he's right. It's advantageous to do that, and what you can run certain nights. I have been cautious this year, even though I'm very eager. And I want to slay the world when it comes to this stuff.
Sure.
I've tried to make sure that I've built in at least one weekend off a month.
Okay.
So our family can take a step back and recharge and not burn ourselves out. And
I feel like that the Rudersales did that for a little bit too. Maybe I feel like the year so that I was there that it was one weekend off a month. And
then
it's not a bad thing.
You're going to lose some races, especially early spring with rain. Some years you don't. Some you get slammed and you lose 5 or 6 races. So having that built in plus the time off. And that's not to mean if we get rained out a bunch and you look around and see who's running what, that we may not say, hey, you know what?
Let's add on.
Let's run this weekend.
Let's have a couple of TBA dates here.
Right. So we'll have, and I think there's going to be a good mix of everything. I would say being at PRI tomorrow and Friday, that'll hopefully give me a chance to lock down a couple things I'm working on.
Okay.
And then maybe have a 95% with a couple TBAs done by maybe this weekend.
Okay.
I think I'm getting pretty close. And and it's just.
Well, when you get those, make sure you send it to me. I'll get it all posted up. I'll put it on all of my social media so that way everybody will see it.
No, I appreciate
everybody at least that I can. Yeah,
and social media has been good for me so far. I'm trying had to build my own page, and Dave.
So you guys have your own website now?
I'm working on the website. I did the Facebook page.
You got the Facebook page, okay.
But Dave and Kim just absolutely killed it with their page and getting followers. I think they had something like 70,000 followers. So
wow.
I'm getting close to 5,000.
Okay.
But we'll build on that. And, that's a good way to get it out there. But we're gonna look. We've been kind of. I mean, it's just. I've got so many things going on at once, and
Sure.
you know, I want to get a website done, but you know, I'm trying to meet with sponsors and making sure they're coming back and just hammering on that list as much as I can. Like you said, I knock one thing off, 3 or 4 other things come up. So but I think you said earlier, I'm never one to back down from a challenge.
Right.
And you know, I want what's best for this community, and you know what's best for this community is that racetrack being open. And giving people something, the local people something to do, bring in people from out of town. And
sure.
You know, I understand this year, first year will be a struggle, you know, and I'm going to learn some things. I'm probably going to take it on the nose on a few things. And, you know, but
it's learning curve,
It's a learning curve, but I think at the end of the day, we get through this first year or two, I think we'll be in great shape. Hopefully the economy will turn around a little bit, and, you know, I just want people to be able to look back and say, man, you know, like we talked about as kids.
Yeah.
I love it. I love going down there, and you know, my kids love going down there. And and then as they grow older, they enjoy it, and then they take their kids to the place. And
you talked about your family all working there and stuff. Both of my daughters have worked at the racetrack and the concessions, and one way or another, you know, it's like they understand. Hey, go to work and put in the time, and they get a paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, my son Corbin races there anyway, so we were going to be there most Saturday nights to begin with, you know. And honestly, we're all so busy in life. Well, actually, even though we'll be working, we'll be able to spend more time together and doing that family venture together. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think it'll be a good experience. Like I said, with my daughter, it's in college, learning the business side of that. You can learn all you want in college, but if you learn something like that in business side, you're really learning life skills, and I think it'll help my kids. And you know, I want them to understand the value of hard work, and you know, and sometimes that even though you worked hard all week, and whether Mother Nature burns you or that, you know, things don't always go well. And, you know, I think
sometimes that's just part of the business.
And I think kids struggle with that these days. Of, you know, we don't allow them to fail anymore, and we always bail them out. So so they're going to learn. They're going to learn that this year. So.
Good deal. Well, I know you got a lot coming up. You still got a lot to finish, a lot of details to polish up, and all that stuff. Keep me posted. Keep us posted. That way, I can keep all of my people posted. And man, I wish you nothing but the best of luck, and keep us posted, and we'll see this thing through.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, and you know, it's good. I think sometimes people can hear all they want, but until they get the opportunity to watch this and kind of really know what you're about and who you are as a person.
Now they got a face to put with the name, and like, hey, what's going on here? You know, that was kind of in the beginning when I started this. I was like, man, you know, maybe we need something like this to make that driver fan connection. And you know, sometimes it's not always a driver. It's like, hey, these engine builders have stories, or this guy that's coming up as a promoter, you know, he's got a story. You know, we need to, so that another outside of the box that people can be connected and see what's going on.
No, I agree, and you know, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and kind of get our side of things out there, and you know, look forward to maybe doing this with you in the future. And hopefully,
sounds good.
Hopefully, maybe we're sitting here next year and we're talking about all the We'll probably talk about some bumps, but maybe talking about a lot of successes we've had.
Things you've learned along the way, and what can you do to make it better?
Without a doubt.
Sounds good.
All right, man.
We're going to wrap things up. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys all liked it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with all your friends. It's off season. It's holidays. Merry Christmas. All that good stuff. And we'll see you at the track as soon as we can. Thanks.